Can you beat Tears of the Kingdom with only a shield? That was the question that I wanted to answer myself, so about 5 days ago, we started our run. The rules are we are not allowed to use anything besides shields to deal damage to enemies. We are allowed to use items to trigger zoning devices, as well as, you know, environmental damage, such as breaking bombs or mining or whatever. But as far as damage goes, we can only use shields. Sages were only allowed for mobility, as well as same thing for rock breaking, mining, and whatnot. But they weren't allowed to be used for combat purposes. Obviously, the actual dungeons are a little bit different because you can't actually dismiss them. They're just kind of hanging out with you, which we kind of roll with the punches there. One quick disclaimer I'd like to make. We did have to use the Master Sword to get through the tutorial section as far as getting through the original dungeon before the Demon King arises, as well as get out of the little locked cage that you get stuck in at the start of the game. But other than that, we did not touch anything besides shields for damage. Obviously, this includes zoning devices. That's considered legal. And without further ado, let's get into the run. Only after I quickly speed run some shrines, because you didn't really miss much. I ended up getting this guy to cut the bow for me, and I made the other guy break the rock. So, I also can't forget my awesome little kickflip I did, but now we're off the Skylands, and now the main run begins. Which of course consisted of us heading over to Lookout Landing and talking to Pura, and then going over to Rito Village, because that will be the easiest step in the right direction as far as killing bosses and whatnot.
Where have you been?
So after what I assume is all of your guys' favorite cutscene that you cannot skip, we head up to Rito Village. On the way there, we stop at a good old shrine to grab a lovely Light of Blessing and continue our way to the village. But first, we had to yoink ourselves a little horse. Shortly after said yoink, we proceed to abandon the horse, go up a Skyview Tower, and get distracted by a random Red Bull edition that was running open castings. After acing the Red Bull edition, we were offered some free merch and sent on our way. We now continue our way to the Rito Village, unless I get distracted yet again. And look at that, it's something shiny. So we stop at the little shrine, realize very quickly that it has violated the law, and turn around and leave. Found a shrine that was a little bit more accommodating, as well as grabbing that light orb and carried on our distracted mission. But hey, look at that, we actually made it to our destination this time without any further distractions. Of course, we had to stop, talk to Tulin, let him run away, and go find him. Once we find him, we got to help him get his bow back, which didn't go quite according to plan. I tried dive bombing the guy a couple times, because you know, it's kind of hard to hit something that's flying with only a shield. That didn't work out too well, so we ended up giving him a little bit of a breeze. I'm going to give myself a pass here because I don't actually think it dealt damage. I think you just needed to like irritate him in any way possible. And they got the bow back. And of course we had to send these guys off the cliff with a little bit of a present because dealing 2 damage from contract horns were not enough. After this, we started our way up to the Wind Temple, completely avoiding any enemies because dealing 2 damage with a rock on a low durability shield is not really necessarily a great idea. On the way, we also came across another not-so-friendly shrine that wouldn't let us get through, and carried on our way up. Once we reached the top, we were greeted with a short cutscene in which I decided that I was going to eat some macaroni. That was a mistake on my part. Link may have pancaked a little bit on the ground, and I had to watch the cutscene again. So, after a quick little speedrun of the temple, definitely without any deaths, I definitely promise you that. Cough, cough, wink, wink. We went on to the Caldera fight. You guys didn't know you can actually just dive through their like body circle thingies and just deal damage that way. I know it's not necessarily shields, but I hope you guys are okay with that because the shield's on my back and there's no really other way to do it. So I hope that's all right. After this, we head down to the Hyrule Castle and go and get our Hylian shield because we really need that durability to kind of carry us throughout the rest of the game. So after we wait for the good old Gloomhands to despawn, because I'm not catching that smoke with a shield and no weapons, we go and grab our Hylian shield, which is always a great time. This was a huge strat looking back in the gameplay. I don't know how much more brutal the game would have been without it, but I'm really glad we got it here. And now we're on to Goron, unless of course I find some good old stuff to do on the side. And which, look at that, I ended up collecting 2 Light of Blessings, which really don't roll off the tongue quite like Spirit Orbs do, but that's besides the point. Back to whatever I was doing, which was apparently going in the depths to get my camera for whatever reason or another. For this, we went to the surface and found a shrine that I decided that I did not want to do. Yeah, I don't care enough. So we went and uncovered this random tower that had something chilling on top of it for whatever reason. Launched yourself back up to the sky to collect some shock emitters from a dispenser. Hindsight, we never really used these, so waste of time and zonite devices, but live and learn. Shortly after this, we headed over into some mining with a good old rock shield. collect a Lytle Blessing, as well as found out that the Gorons were having a bad trip. After this, we went on to fight Yonobo, which turned out to be an absolute nightmare. We tried a rock shield, we tried cannons, shock emitters, yada, you name it, we tried it. Turns out it just needed to be an actual like physical item, and the rock would have done it. It's just that his hitbox is directly the mask, and Link's short and stubby, so it didn't work out that well. But what's done is done. No harm besides me wasting my life doing so. Then after that fiasco, we decided to go up Death Mountain and deal with the whatever the heck you want to call these things. And down to the depths we went. And realistically, it was pretty chill. You know, we just flew over to the dungeon because you already knew where it was, and life was great. Until I got there and I realized that you're not allowed in it unless you just talk to him like 3 different times along the path. So I flew all the way over here, had to fly back up to the top and go talk to him. And then we were allowed in, but yeah, so I was super unimpressed, but here we are. So after a quick dungeon speedrun, if you consider 50 minutes to an hour quick, we moved into the Gomulup fight? The crab thing. Nonetheless, this was not as quite straightforward as I was hoping it would be. We used the Hylian shield with a diamond on it to deal some damage, then halfway through, I tried using recall to try and get it down on the floor. That didn't work out, so we had to slap our good old boy cannon on and destroy a diamond, not even unfuse it, because we'd used it for the first half of the fight. You can't just leave and come back. At least, I don't think you can. And then we just shot him with a cannon for like 15 minutes. So that was the fight. Relatively straightforward overall. But yeah, it took a lot longer than it should have for someone who had literally played through this dungeon 2 weeks beforehand. After this, we spent a little bit of time doing shrines to collect some more orbs in order to get our hearts up to 10 to allow us to access Minaru's door for her dungeon. Before finishing this, however, we decided that we wanted to go get auto build in order for us to be able to craft those unbreakable blocks that you can find in Minaru's temple for the boss fight, for us somebody to stand on that wouldn't damage us to gloom, because obviously we can't stand on Minaru herself because that's against the rules of the challenge essentially. We can't use her for the fight and we can't attack on top of her. So we had to go to that, but out of curiosity we actually want to go with the Yiga outfit, so we went and got the full Yiga outfit. And after that, we went down to go collect auto build just to see. But turns out Master Kogna, or whatever his name is, can see you through your outfit because you have a big blonde ponytail or whatever. So, you know, just like any normal person would do, we shot him a bunch with a cannon, and he went on his merry way. And we were back onto our missions. We quickly went to exchange our stamina vessels for heart containers. After this, we were on our way to the Sky Island inside the storm. We ended up having to go craft some large zonite charges just to kind of make sure that we had enough power to actually keep her off her and actually push her back into the wall every time she landed or whatever she was doing. The fight ended up being pretty straightforward overall. We just kind of kept shooting her and it really wasn't any issue. Besides like right here where I almost got clobbered. After this, we did run to the castle to grab some shields, and we went on to kind of continue preparing for our Ganon fight. This included, but wasn't limited to, collecting the horn from a Lionel to strap onto our main shield, as well as collecting some fairies just to give us a little bit of a buffer. We then spend some of our time maneuvering through the castle. After this, we set down a medallion on top of the ledge, as well as collecting the Phantom set in order to boost our attack, as well as our defense up to 24. We warped back, and now it was time to face the Demon King's army. But before we do that, I have one quick thing to ask you guys. If you guys are enjoying the video, I would please ask that you like, comment, or subscribe. All of them help me out tremendously as a creator. And if you guys did like the video, I would really appreciate it. I spent a lot of time on this, and that's all I have to say. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll get back to the video. Back to the Demon King's army. I really didn't play this as best as I wish I would have. I ended up having to go through this a couple times to actually get a clean run. But we did just play the first one through. We died during the Octorok fight, and we had to carry on to a couple more tries. Once we got past that, we were able to start doing this pretty clean, as well as the Muktorok fight. Unfortunately, the Queen Gibdo was a little bit of a struggle. We did get through her eventually, and when we did, I completely forgot that we had Phantom Ganon to go with, which was also not a super great time, but honestly kind of a pushover in general. Once that was completed, we moved on to the Ganon fight, and this is actually like a soft save point where if you die, you just have to go fight Ganon again. Unfortunately for us, after all that use of the Hylian shield, because the other ones just break so quickly, mid through the Ganon fight, it actually broke. Actually, I might just be a dumbass. I went back and looked at it, and I actually got hit by Malice, and I think that's what actually broke the shield. Mind you, we still might not have actually made it through, because it still was quite damaged from like the actual fight before. But I might have wasted about 4 hours of my time, as well as possibly didn't ruin the no glitch run. But Maybe this is more interesting for you guys. Either way, I'm sorry, but I'll let you get back to the video. And knowing that we would not have enough shield to get through the rest of the Ganon fight, I posted a poll on the channel, and people voted that we were better off duping than to go expand a bunch of shield slots just to possibly have a chance to do it with like royal shields. So we ended up doing that really quick and returned, having to start back over from scratch. This was really unfortunate, but once we got through the process, we were much better off in a better position with more fairies. After this, we had to, of course, go back through the Demon King army, Muktarok, as well as Queen Gibdo and Phantom Ganon. I'm going to skip that, obviously, because it's going to take too much time again. But we did that again. We got back to Ganon. It still took a couple tries, but overall went a lot more smoothly this time. And before we knew it, it was on to the Demon Dragon fight. This went really easy, obviously. It's not a very hard fight. You slap him a couple times. And I know what you guys are probably thinking, how did you do the final thing with only shields? Of course, this is a little bit of a cheesy thing. I ended up slapping a good old Hylian shield into the Master Sword as a fuse to consider it like kind of the same thing, because obviously you're soft locked from the state. But after we give him a little stabby with a shield, that is beating Tears of the Kingdom with only a shield. Let me guys know down below if you guys want me to post the boss fight separately in their full form. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.